which included a piece of cybersecurity work. When I told my manager, hey, I've been studying, I got my certification, I've been going to night classes, I really want to join the cybersecurity team. Although it was actually a step backwards, the position that was available was a step backwards in my career. Because it would put me on the path to cybersecurity, I jumped on it. And honestly, from there, that's kind of, I ran into you and other folks I've worked with in the past. But I mean, that was it. I mean, it was a lot of hard work and some strategy.
Welcome to the Cyber Content Podcast, where we talk about cybersecurity career development and everything cyber. Hey everyone, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Cyber Content. Today we've got a special guest, Craig Phillip. He is the CEO of Grindstone. He's going to tell you about his company in a minute and his experience. So Craig is a business owner. He started out like most of us, grinding, working in the IT space and cybersecurity space. And now he has his own company, making his own bread. So Craig, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself and your journey.
Hey, yeah, thanks, Ola. I appreciate the time and I appreciate you having me on. Just a little bit of background about me, completely took the long way, the scenic route, I like to say, to cybersecurity, right? I got my undergrad degree in economics. I was working for a research institution, National Academy of Sciences, spent some years there, kind of didn't see the upward trajectory for myself in that space. I always had an interest in IT. I just had never, pursued it, from a education standpoint. So, I actually, quit the job without another job, made the decision, hey, I'm going to start studying cybersecurity. And I just, bet on myself, right? Spent some time, learning, looking at what certifications and all the things that everyone always does when they're thinking about getting into cybersecurity. Started to learn the landscape a little bit more, just like the companies and businesses. I saw opportunity to leverage some of my previous skills to get into a government contracting company. And I told myself, if I could get into a company that does IT and cybersecurity from, I think from the inside, I have a better opportunity of pivoting from inside the company than, trying to convince someone that, even though I didn't have any experience, that they should hire me in IT or cybersecurity. So in 2014, I ended up getting a job with a small government contracting company, worked my butt off, helped every single department. I was a guy who walked around the back office, so I supported a program with the VA. When I was done my work, I go to the HR office, the finance office, the IT office, and just see what I could do, what I could help with. And I developed a reputation as, a hard worker, proactive worker. And so about 2-3 years down the line where that company won a huge contract, which included a piece of cybersecurity work, when I told my manager, hey, I've been studying, I got my certification, I've been going to night classes, I really want to join the cybersecurity team. Although it was actually a step backwards, the position that was available was a step backwards in my career. Because it would put me on the path to cybersecurity, I jumped on it. And honestly, from there, that's kind of, I ran into you and other folks I've worked with in the past. But I mean, that was it. I mean, it was a lot of hard work and some strategy involved in trying to, how can I put myself near cybersecurity and work my butt off to let someone give me a chance to actually work on the cybersecurity project. From there, worked on the 2020 census, have worked with a lot of other federal civilian agencies, RMF, vulnerability management, project management. So, leveraging some of my skills that I had and some of the new skills I've developed along the way, ultimately starting my company, or at least leaving full time to work on my own business in 2019, right before the pandemic, because I like a challenge. And really trying to learn. I know cybersecurity, and honestly, learning business and business ownership, that's its own challenges. Completely separate from having the skill set to do the work. And so, for the last handful of years, that's what I've been doing. Learning business, learning business development, learning marketing, and learning all those things as a business owner that you have to learn, and trying to go about it the same way I went about trying to get into cybersecurity, and using what was successful to get me there to bring some success in business, and still working hard, and still getting to that point where we can both retire early and be in Jamaica or somewhere, talking about these things and helping other folks, chart their path to cybersecurity and success.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, we worked together a couple of times. So one thing that people don't realize is the skill sets that you currently have can easily translate to cybersecurity, can easily roll over into cybersecurity. And one thing you mentioned as well is making those relationships, having those connections. Like, it's hard. I shouldn't say hard. It's harder for someone coming in with when they don't know you, you're fresh, it's like, what has this person done? Versus someone's already in the organization, plugged in. It's easier to pivot that way. Maybe you were working as a system administrator. You could easily say, hey, cybersecurity guy, you guys hiring in your department? Oh, can I shadow you? What kind of things are you doing? So no matter what company you're working in, they have an IT department. They have someone in charge of security. So it's always important to have those conversations if you're trying to get into cybersecurity. That's an easier route, for someone who has no experience, because they already know you. They know your work ethic. It's just a matter of you adding additional cybersecurity skills to the skill sets that you already have. So, have those questions with people in the cybersecurity department. That's an easy way to get in. And then also, like nonprofit organizations, churches, you could reach out to them and say, hey, I can help you guys develop cybersecurity policies and procedures, and free of charge. That will create a reference that you can now leverage to, get a job or a contract. So talking about government contracts, can you explain to our audience what that entails? What is a subcontractor? What is a primary contractor? And how do you get these contracts?
Yep. So that's a great question. And before I even hop in, I just wanted to co-sign what you just said. I mean, part of the story that I left out before I quit my job. I started that path towards cybersecurity. Before I got that first job, I was volunteering, right? I mean, I'd find organizations that would bring me in, and I say, hey, I have some skills. Don't have money. Let me use my skill. Let me volunteer my time with those skills, and support you. And it wasn't a direct correlation, but I could tell you, I mean, as soon as I started volunteering, there's something about the energy about that.
Yeah.
Opportunities started to come my way. And I tell people, I had a conversation with a mentee yesterday, again, with the networking, and people hire people, right? I mean, you can have a skill set, they could need the skill set. If they know you, they trust you, they like you, that's who they're going to bring onto their team. So I want to co-sign that before I hopped into the government contracting.
Absolutely.
But government contractor, man, I mean, that's what I've been doing since I got into the IT and cybersecurity side. First as an employee, then a subcontractor, and I actually have a proposal due in a couple hours. So,
Nice.
Going into the federal government, the state, local governments, and even state colleges and universities, they all put out requests for proposals, requests for information a request for quotations, and basically they're saying, hey, we have a need, right? Or we have a problem. We don't have the skill set in-house to solve, and we need someone from, the public, a company, an organization to bring their skills, and we'll pay them, right, for their time and their effort to help us solve that problem, right? For cybersecurity, they may need a risk assessment, right? They may need a pen test. And so, my company is a newer company. We do a lot of subcontracting, right? So that means there was a prime contractor, like you said earlier, and that's the company who, maybe responded to a request for proposal, or maybe had a prior relationship with the government or agency or organization, and they were able to describe to them the solution that they would use to solve their problem, and at a price that the government agreed upon, right? And so if the government likes your solution, likes your price, looks at all the other vendors and said, hey, I think Grindstone is the company we want to work with, right? There's a contract, right, that's signed on both sides, and there's usually a period of performance, a time, and an agreement that, hey, the vendor, Grindstone, is going to perform vulnerability management work for the U.S. Census Bureau for the next 3 months, and they agree to pay a certain dollar amount. And so, again, it's the government, and honestly, large organizations, it's slightly different on the process, but the form is the same. There's a problem, they're looking for an outside vendor to come help them solve the problem. When it comes to prime and subcontractor, usually for one reason or another, sometimes if the company is large enough, think Accenture, Booz Allen, the government says, hey, we'll give you this $25 million contract, but as part of that, you have to work with some small businesses to help us meet their, all the government agencies have usually like a 3% requirement to work with, small businesses or women-owned businesses or veteran-owned businesses. So there's certain set-asides, dollar amounts that are set aside for all the agencies to work with some of these smaller businesses. So again, either directly with the agency or sometimes with some of those larger companies, they put out contracts where, as a small business, we could partner with a larger business, or sometimes it's another small business that's just maybe a more mature, been around longer, have more staff. They could put out more responses to proposals. And so we'll bring expertise, right? So again, my background, project management, vulnerability management, risk management. So they'll come to me and say, hey, Craig, we're working on a contract with, agency X. We have 2 positions, right? A cybersecurity project manager and a RMF analyst, right? That we are having trouble to fill, or we would like to partner with a smaller business to help fill. And they'll reach out to me. I'll find some great resources to bring onto the project, and as a partnership with that company, help solve that problem that the government had. So again, it's an interesting business because again, think about the incentives, right? If you're a prime company, why would you want to share the money if you don't have to, right? So again, there's usually some give and take. Again, maybe they don't want to, if they're a smaller business, they don't want to have to own all the payroll for having 10 people, right? Because that starts to get expensive if you have a bunch of 6-figure people working on a project, and you're one company. Now you have to make your payroll, and the thing is, the government doesn't pay you before, they pay you after, right? So usually you work, you work for 30 days, and you submit a invoice, and you may have to wait another 30 days for that to get paid. I've worked on contracts where you have to get to the deliverable, the deliverable gets approved, and then you submit the invoice. So it may have been 45 days, wow, 55 days before we could even submit an invoice. So folks want to own a business. Here's some of the real life things that you have to balance when you own a business. You could say, hey, I want more and more people, because you see the big number at the end, but folks don't see, well, hey, if I have 5 people on contract and each one of those makes about $10,000 a month, right? That's $50,000 that you have to figure out where you're going to get it from to pay them
Mm,
before you ever get paid. So again, these are some of those things I'm learning as a business owner, that as an employee, you don't think about those things. You do your job, you go home, you get paid. As a business owner, it's a slightly different math problem that you're working out to be successful.
wow. So how much would you say on an average will these contracts be? Like, we're talking millions?
Good question. Yeah, good question. So I'll be honest, my largest contract was 700K range, right? And that's for the year, right? So that's
That's
not
not bad.
I don't get paid that on the front end, but after all the work is done over the 12 months, I've gotten paychecks, I've gotten invoices paid for maybe 100K, maybe 120K, and it goes down to, I just did one for a small business, $4,000, right? And as a small business, I'm not turning that down. It's
Right.
just a different type of service working with a small business versus an enterprise organization that just needs way more help. So again, I think that's a pretty good range for me. It's been from as low as 4,000 to as high as 700K plus. And I think the more mature that you are as a business, which to me is investing in your business, right? Have some proposal writing help, have some business development help. So investing in the business means, so yeah, the money came in, but if you're not reinvesting that money into the business to help grow the infrastructure to support having a $1 million contract, a $5 million contract. I mean, folks always think, it's being unsuccessful, not getting any contracts that will kill you. I'll tell you, I've seen a lot of companies in this industry, they win a contract and they didn't figure out their financials and their cash flow, and that's what buried them, right? It
Mm,
wasn't not winning, it was winning and not actually being prepared, right? Because the government says, hey, we have a contract with you. You have to get this work done. And there's, if you don't get the work done, there's repercussions for not getting the work done, right? When you sign that agreement with the government. So again, if you have staff and you need that staff to get the work done and you can't pay them, right? That's how companies end up cannibalizing themselves and folding, because again, you basically bit off more than you could chew. So again, it's a interesting math formula that you're constantly trying to adjust, right, to grow, get better, but like understand where you are so you're not taking on more. There's been opportunities that's been wrapped for me and handed over to me that I had to unfortunately say, you know what, I don't have a resource that I trust
wow.
to go do this work, right? And
Because your
I'm
name's
already,
important,
yeah, and
your
I'm
reputation.
already occupied. Like, so, like, unfortunately, I have to say no. Right, I had a very large, local university where I had a good relationship with one of the folks that was doing some consulting with them. They had known some of the work that my company had did, and he reached out, and again, unfortunately, I had to I put together the solution. I knew exactly what I needed, but when I tried to, look and see what resources I had available, I couldn't find a resource that I could trust with my reputation to go down there, and execute on the contract. So I had to back off. And again, that's just the reality of, like, being honest with yourself as a business owner and saying, yeah, I want to say yes to everything, but like, is it worst to say yes and fail, or say no and take that as a lesson learned and figure out how I can be better prepared for the next opportunity that comes.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. So how much was that? Just curious, how much was the one you turned down?
So we had never agreed on a price, but I think I put out something in it was in the six-figure range, easily in the multi six-figure range of work. And it was one of those things where, hey, we're going to come in and do the baseline assessment and also recommend that you guys need some ongoing support. So I mean, it was nothing to sneeze at. But again, I didn't have the right resources available to me at the level that I needed them to be able to perform on that contract for me to move forward.
Nice. And are you seeing a lot of like compliance work, compliance related work, and how easy is it to do those jobs
Yeah, I think
versus
those
a
are,
more technical side of
yeah,
things?
yeah, I think those are two good questions. So I see them a lot, right? And if you think about any organization, they either have already done the compliance work and now they're ready for the technical, security work, or they need to do the compliance work. And from the compliance work, that's where the technical penetration testing and some of the other more technical security trades are coming into play. And I see it all the time across, again, every agency, all, Fortune 500 organizations. Compliance is kind of the baseline, I think, for all the cybersecurity programs. And, of course, there's a technical piece, especially as the organizations become more and more mature. But, I think compliance is always going to be if folks are thinking about what money to spend, it usually to me looks like compliance first. And then if there's more money, they start spending on the more technical, cybersecurity skills that they need. For your second part of your question, how easy? I'll be honest. I mean, I've seen really good people like yourself, and I've seen people who aren't that good, right? So, I mean, I think it's a different mind, slightly different mind than some of the technical pieces. I think working with people, right? Like if you're working in compliance, you're going to have to be at some point or another working with people maybe a little bit more directly within like some of the technical, more engineering based cybersecurity jobs I've seen. So, I think it's a skill set that, if you apply yourself the same way I see people sometimes apply yourself to the technical side to learn, all the NIST and learn all the learn all those different controls. I mean, I think there's a opportunity for you to come in and be able to knock somebody's socks off in an interview, which I've seen before. Someone who's new to the industry, but like obviously has spent the time to learn and grow, right? And again, it shows with someone who maybe is a couple of years in and have not been challenged as much, right? Only had to know, a little bit to do their job. And again, so I work on a lot of enterprise, my larger contracts are enterprise contracts, and it's a difference with someone who's had like one job and they had to know one thing versus someone who's, been exposed to, the whole gamut and like has an understanding of all the different things that could come their way and they don't get flustered. It stands out in an interview and when those folks are working.
Awesome. So if someone was trying to work with you, say you got a contract, right? And you were trying to sub that contract, you're trying to look for a subcontractor.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does that person need to start their own LLC, or what is the process? Do they do 1099? How would that work?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think, two things, right? One, you could be a 1099 and not have a business. If you're a true subcontractor, you should have an LLC. You should have a business. And and we get this kind of back and forth that I've had with, some of my primes all the time is I've done all the things that I think I need to do, infrastructure, investment in the business, that there's no question, that, we have a legitimate business. We have business bank accounts. We have, consultants, not just doing the work, but like, lawyers, financial people, so a lot of these different things that I don't think people who want to have a business and want to be, work with a Booz Allen or some of these large companies think about like, hey, there's a lot of structure and a lot of investment that goes into being prepared to work with those companies. And I'll go back to it again. You get a contract. The contract's $1 million, so you have to put almost just under $20 million a month going into your resources working. Where does that money come from? I mean, I learned the hard way. The first line of credit I was offered when I had my business was $700. Now you tell me, what can I do with a monthly line of credit for $700? I think nothing. So again, having to build a business to the point where I have those relationships now, have the lines of credit that could actually support the business. I mean, that took years. That took years of time. So, I think there's a real, I implore folks, if you want to go the business side, I think you could do it. You put your mind to it and you work and you learn and you network and you get around people who've been successful. You could definitely do it. And honestly, I don't think, from what I've seen, you don't have to be technical. You don't have to have some specific, trade that you were really good at, unless it was, marketing and business development, to be good at business. I find it's those people who honestly are better at networking, presentations, and those type of things. Honestly, they're running and gunning, man. I mean, honestly, I'm continuing to try to take myself out of the cybersecurity person mode, right? Where I love to solve a problem. I love to get in there and from the cybersecurity aspect, like come up with solutions. But like being a business owner, like it's a different part of the day job that I have to lean into to be successful. And it's not necessarily the cybersecurity part, man. It's those other social skills, soft skills, that folks talk about that I think will make you more successful.
Nice, nice. So is there any advice that you would give your 10 years ago self?
Mm. Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think one, I tell myself, if I was now going back then, one, I'd say keep going, you're doing great, right? Two, I would say, man, that like I said, business development, networking, soft skills. I mean, that's if I want to be a business owner. Hey, if I want to be a cybersecurity person, hey, I think you came up with a good strategy, you worked your strategy, and you got the output you wanted. If I want to be a business person, I think there's some other things that I need to lean into, that networking, and getting out there, going to those, events, all joining, being a member of some of these cybersecurity groups. And honestly, I tell folks, not just the cybersecurity groups, go join and be a member of a legal
So
group.
you were saying like not being the only cybersecurity person in the group, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So and again, I'll lean into this, man. And like I said, I was talking to a mentee yesterday. Networking, like build your skills, learn. But if you're not building your skills and learning and networking, meeting people who probably are not already in your network. If you want to be in cybersecurity and you're not already there, you probably don't have a large cybersecurity IT network. You have to work on that network. You have to meet people. You have to be willing to, hey, can I interview you? I want to be in cybersecurity. It seems like you had a great career, and build those relationships, because honestly, those are more likely going to be the people who, hey, yeah, I know Craig, he works hard, he asks good questions. I know he's been looking for an entry level job, and something pops up. It may not be in their company. Maybe it's in a company of someone where they know, like a senior level executive. They say, hey, I think I know the perfect person for that job. So that's what I tell folks trying to get into industry. Focus on your skills, focus on the craft, continue to learn. But that doesn't stop, right? That goes all throughout your career. But spend some time also networking and meeting people that you don't already know, that are in the industry already, who could, be advocates for you, for job opportunities or whatever it is that you need. Introduce you to someone who you didn't already know, who might be able to put you in the right position to be successful.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And I think there's a lot of benefits to being a business owner versus being just a regular W-2. So there's like tax benefits. Most of the time we take these courses, we go to seminars, we drive long distances. These are things you could easily write off. I mean, talk to a tax professional, but these are things you could easily write off and enjoy the benefit of that. So that's pretty cool. I know you talked about vulnerability management and some other skill sets that you have. Can you talk about that? What is vulnerability management to the layman? What is that, and what does that entail? How do you get into that?
Yep, that's a good question. So, to me, vulnerability management, if you just think about an organization, right, there's castle is always a good example, right? If you go to the castle, there's always maybe doors that are loose, right? They're supposed to lock, but they don't lock, right? There's supposed to be a moat with water going all the way around, but at one area, the water is dried up so someone can walk right through. So to me, vulnerability management, you're going in and checking the infrastructure of your organization and trying to identify those gaps, those security weaknesses, before an attacker or an outside person does, right? So again, to me, it's almost like a more technical auditor, right? We're going through the technical aspects of the business, trying to find things that are wrong and work with the organization to fix them to make that organization more secure.
Nice. So I think as a business owner, especially if you're in cybersecurity, I think it's better to start off at least in a niche that you're familiar with, So if I get a contract for vulnerability management, like if I were you and I got that contract, I could easily do the job because I wouldn't have to rely on hiring someone to do the job because I know it. And in an instance, if you do hire someone, say the person calls out, you know what I mean? I could easily step in and do the work. So I think it's good to have a core set of skills within cybersecurity that you're SME, subject matter expert on, and then try to start applying for jobs, contracts or jobs with those skill sets. So what certifications would you recommend someone trying to get into cybersecurity get, or someone trying to get government contracts and will put that person in the best light possible to get those contracts?
Yep. So I think it's a good question, and also just want to touch on what you were saying right before. I think have the core skill set, and if you're really really good at something, you almost always find people reaching out to you to get a job. And I also want to continue to push your network. Right. Honestly, the reason why I've had even just a little bit more success than I probably would have not otherwise is because I know folks like Ola and other really really skilled folks that when I need something, I already have in my network folks that have very very high level skill sets in their field. And honestly, that makes it a lot easier as a business owner, and makes me a lot more confident to be able to go after contracts and go after work. So to the certification question, I have my Security Plus. That was the first security certification I got. Went on to get my PMP, not a cybersecurity certification, but as far as management and managing projects, very helpful. I got my CISSP, which was a challenging certification. And so this is what I'll say, because I sometimes think folks have the wrong mindset of getting these certifications, right? To me, certifications are an opportunity to learn, right? When I was new to cybersecurity, I went after Security Plus because it introduced me to a lot of topics in cybersecurity that were foreign to me at the time, right? So again, go after the certification as part of your journey to keep learning, but don't reach for the certification like, okay, I have the certification now, I need to get a job, right? It's just one of the steps on the path to land in a opportunity. And I think if you look at it like that, look at certifications, CISM, and there's a lot of good organizations that are putting out material. Use that as an opportunity to learn, right? Not as hey, I got this, I think I'm ready for a job. No, these are opportunities to continue to learn and grow in the craft, learn and grow in cybersecurity. And I think if you leverage those certifications as learning opportunities, you'll have better outcomes than as like the destination, right? Security Plus shouldn't be a destination. CISSP shouldn't be a destination. They should be, hey, I'm learning sort of outside of the office, and I'm learning, I got an opportunity. I'm learning inside the office, and if you work just as hard at both, you'll find some opportunities that other folks may not get.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I think before starting a business, I think it's good to work in the field. Don't just say, oh, I'm out of college, I'm just going to start a business. Some people could do that. That's cool. But I think it's nice to work for someone first, right? Before you start working for yourself. I think getting into cybersecurity, one of the things I stress is try to get the skills that will pay the bills, in demand skills. So cybersecurity skills like cyber risk management, GRC, I think it's something that's pretty good because they always need people. It's mandatory. These guys are going to get fined if they don't, go through an ATO, so I think getting those types of skill sets are good, and that comes with training. Someone said, how'd they put this? There's a difference between a travel agent and a tour guide. A travel agent will tell you about a place that they've never been and sell you a ticket. A tour guide has been there and will tell you how to get there, places to go, what to do, what to watch out for. So always look for a mentor. That's your tour guide that's going to train you, teach you the ins and out of the business, and you will find success there. So things like having a good mentor, having the skill set, the right in-demand skill set, a nice resume with all the keywords and key points, a good LinkedIn profile, and be confident with interviews, practice interviews. I think that will be the key to success, and certifications. So in your journey of being a business owner, was there any mentorship that you had? Was there any type of training? Obviously, the government contract landscape is a lot to learn. There's these forms and these rules. Is there anything that kind of helped you navigate that? Was there a mentor? Were there resources?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And, just to touch on something I think we both touched on before is, you said like, it's probably going to be a bit tougher if you don't have any cybersecurity skills and you go to start a business. Now, I think there's some folks out there who could do it. And those are the folks out there that are going to talk to, 50 people a day. They're going to find mentors. They're going to find the right people to work with so they can quickly learn. I think like most of us, we kind of need to be in an office somewhere, have someone who's a senior executive, who you could work with and learn from and see how, they move to see how you need to position yourself to get, attain the heights that they have. And, I've had some great folks I've worked for in the past. And, when I first got into government contracted, and I was hired by the president of that company, right? And again, I got to see someone who had spent decades in IT, decades in government contracting, working with some of the large companies that we all know the names of, and like the processes and how they like problem solve and how they think. That was some of the things that helped me. And again, being the person who was willing to put in extra work, be proactive about my career, it put me in a good, a good, view of those folks. I mean, even little things from, I like to get into the office early, and I always saw that there was one car always in the office before mine, and that was the president of the company. And eventually I said, you know what, my competitive spirit, I'm going to start beating him to the office. Right. But not that I got anything, from it, but like I had a competitive spirit. I'm going to start beating him to the office. And event, and so when he would drive up and see my car, in the parking lot first, again, there's little things that like, I think people will probably wouldn't pay attention to, that other folks see and say, hey, there's something about that person where, hey, I want to spend a little bit more time helping, guiding, and putting them in position to be successful. So, be it, while I'm working, and, the other thing I'll add, as I become an owner, there's programs out there, man. And, take the trainings, get a mentor, talk to, there's so many business owners, and, especially if you're a young person, people are willing to talk to you. You might still have to sell them on why they should work with you versus someone who's been in the game 20 years as a business owner. But, being young, motivated, you don't have to just be young, but, being motivated, you could stand out to folks, and generally people always want to talk about themselves, so ask folks some questions, take them to to have a coffee or, have a meal, and just, pick their brains. And again, folks are probably more willing to help and open up than people think. And that's why, again, I always talk about that networking. I mean, I'm an introvert by nature. I'm willing to talk. All the knows I'm the one walking around the building talking to everybody, but I feel like I'm an introvert. But being willing to tap into folks and learn a little bit more about them, and not always just for the job. And sometimes it's just about their life. Again, I learned this in a program that I was in. People work with who they know, like, and trust, right? And so if they know, like, and trust you, they're going to be more willing to help and support you along your journey.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I think a lot of times when we see successful people, I know a lot of people want to say, "Hey, man, can you cut me a check?" Or, they want to ask for money. But these successful people are more willing to give free advice than, money. They're willing to give out the information. It just takes you, being humble enough to ask, "Hey, how'd you get started? What can I do? What's the greatest thing you've ever learned from, being a business owner? How'd you get where you are?" So this has been informative, Craig. Can you tell everyone how they could reach you? Tell them about your company, where you're located, what type of services you render.
Yep. So yeah, Craig Phillip, if you want to reach out, it's Craig at grindstonepbc.com. Again, that's Craig at grindstone, Peter Bravo Charlie.com. And the website's www.grindstonepbc.com. So yeah, we do cybersecurity services. I'll be honest, man, I want to expand to offer even more. And that's some of the things that we've been working on. That PBC at the end, that's a public benefit corporation. I mean, so one of the things that we want to focus on is serving customers that serve the community, right? Be that government, nonprofits. So that's really our focus. Cybersecurity is for sure where we started. Project management, is a service that we're offering to more and more folks. Staff augmentation, usually in the cybersecurity IT field as well. Office in College Park, Maryland. Have a new office in Philadelphia as well. So I know, Ola, next time I'm up there, I'm going to come check you out. And I mean, again, like we're working, I have a training program I have every Thursday. We're coming to the end of that program. We've been doing it the whole year, where we have some folks, some of them have, current IT skills. So we have one cat that's in high school, but, we're doing training through Microsoft security projects. I have a partnership with Microsoft. They have a Black partner network group with different organizations that are Black and minority owned that are in the Microsoft network. So, again, this different program and trying to do what I can to pay it forward and support folks who are trying to get into the industry and perform great service for our clients, man. I just got a review back from a client that we supported on that big contract I told you about early in the year. We had a program manager, a security network engineer, and a security specialist on that project. And we got excellent reviews across the board. And that's what we want to do. Keep, working hard, building a business, supporting more and more customers, especially in the government and in the nonprofit field. Again, we're going to work hard and continue to partner with folks like you and the community to get more and more people into, there's a need for cybersecurity folks. I think we're going through a bit of a just economically a bit of a recession right now. So I think probably, people see that Google's and some of these very large organizations having layoffs, but honestly, you learned everything's cyclical, right? It goes up, it goes down, and honestly, it balances out over the long term. And there's a need for cybersecurity folks. There's a need for skilled people who are willing to work hard. And, I'm going to continue to do my part to bring more and more of them in the fold and to get more and more opportunities so I can place those folks to work.
Awesome. Yeah. Like you said about the recession, I think that when it comes to governance, risk, and compliance roles, GRC roles, whether it be RMF, risk management framework, as an ISSO, as a security control assessor, these roles are usually recession proof because that money has already been paid by the government. It's already been allocated prior to all the craziness. And it's something that is a need. You're considered high priority, essential employee or whatever. So they need to get things done. So with the risk management framework, it's basically saying that if I'm trying to install something on the government network, we can't just install that without it going through, some processes like, an assessment. And so that system needs to get authorized before it could be used. And you need an ISSO, you need a security control assessor that will do the risk management framework. That's still under the umbrella of GRC. So those are recession-proof jobs, and I always try to push people to get into those roles. They're non-technical, and they pay six figures. So, you can only get
these jobs pay. Yeah,
right.
These jobs pay, man. I mean, that's why I said we're both doing our part to try to get more and more people in. And if you're good, and you have to get there, someone has to give you an opportunity. But if you're good, people will seek you out, and you will be compensated well for being good, really, really good at your job.
Yeah, because a lot of people just think, oh, I'm just going to go to the training. Nah, go to the training and you have to put in the work. You got to, practice the things that you're trained. You can only make as much as the big problem that you're willing to solve. The bigger the problem, the bigger the paycheck. So it's a big need in the government to be compliant with FISMA, with RMF. So they're going to pay. All right. So this was awesome, man. I hope you guys found this informative. You got some value from this, and I hope you guys will take action. All right. Until next time, see you Friday. Peace. Hey, if you're interested in any of my cybersecurity videos, here is one I would recommend for you. It's the Information System Security Officer Training. This course comes with tons of videos, a CAP, which is the Certified Authorization Professional Boot Camp. It comes with quizzes, comes with a certificate of completion, resume template, ebook, monthly live Q&A sessions, the ability to ask questions as well, and get a response back in 48 hours. Also has interview prep and job prep. So this is a power-packed course. For more information, visit www.cyberfirstacademy.com. Thanks.